Move from the center of that being, from the center of that heart, that beautiful heart that you have inside.
Yoga is not about no pain, no gain. That's that old school thinking. This is about self-care and healing.
I was a hope-to-die junkie, dope fiend, alcoholic.
Robbed banks up and down the West Coast, went to federal prison for 6.5 years, drank and used the whole time. Then I got out and started drinking again. I committed an armed robbery. I got busted and went back to prison. Originally I went to jail in Washington County where I escaped from the jail, and that's why I ended up having to do all my time in maximum security federal penitentiaries for the next 13 years.
Finally finding my way back to yoga, and I practiced for about 17 years and taught on the inside. And then I ran into living yoga when I got in the Oregon State system.
It changed my life in a dramatic way. I know that as a result of doing yoga, I was able to get in touch with that inner part of myself that is good. I became a better employee while I was in prison. I became a better inmate. I followed the rules. I practiced those right behaviors, which came from me getting on my mat, connecting with my breath, going through these difficult poses, and not giving up.
In a lot of our lives, people didn't show up for us because we'd done things that made them not want to show up.
The living yoga people come in and tell us through their actions that they love us just for being human beings and for trying to become better. And they bring us the lessons that make that possible. When I'm teaching in prison and there's a group of guys who don't know each other other than seeing each other on the compound, they get into the yoga class oftentimes after waiting for 6 months on a waiting list. And they see these other guys that they may not get along with or that may be from a different group. They suddenly see those guys trying to do these same poses, and they realize that they're struggling too. Over time, I see these same guys on the compound, and they're smiling, they're shaking hands, they're maybe even sitting at a table during a meal together, which is really not something that normally is done in prison. People stop being separate. People start achieving that union, which is, of course, what yoga means. I have a lot of peace and happiness in my life today that I never had before. It was always dependent on outside things. Now it's dependent on inside things. And from that, it's made me a better citizen. 90% of everybody that's in prison is getting out, and someday they're going to be living next door to you. Do you want somebody living next door to you who's had no sort of therapeutic help to get better and to become a better human being? Or do you want somebody that's going to get out and have the same habits and addictions that they've always had? Whereas if they go to prison and they have the opportunity to do something like living yoga and see that there's a different way to feel and think about the world, then they recreate the world and they come out and they're a good neighbor instead of a bad neighbor. You guys will save lives, and those lives that you save will reach out and touch other people's lives in a really positive way. So thank you very much. Namaste.
Namaste.